All right, so Jesus, I keep calling it Jesus, bro. I
Bro, like,
can't
are you doing
stop.
this on purpose?
No, I'm not.
Well, yeah,
Genius is done.
genius.
Three-part documentary. Yeah, so it done now. Um, it was interesting to say the least. But what did you think of it, Mark?
I hear you say. I think you say you had some notes earlier off here.
Yeah.
Um, what I think about it, I think the name speaks for itself. It's genius.
Yeah, but I also remember you saying, like, before I watched part three, that like, yo, you know who the real genius is? Coodie, the guy
Coodie, yeah,
who
yeah, man,
directed.
yeah, man. Coodie is the real genius, bro. Coodie is the real genius.
But yo, did you notice that there was a point in when they were doing the credits at the start where it said directed by Coodie and Chike? And
Mm-hmm.
you saw a line go through that? Did you see that shit?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
like, this motherfucker just want creative control. That was the
Mm-hmm.
other thing that threw me off. Because I'm like, every time I see produced by creative control, I'm like, is that a jab? Or is there really a company called Creative Control? I'm like, yo, this is actually, if it's not, he is a genius because that's funny
Mm-hmm.
as shit. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess the first thing, the very, very, very first thing I would want to talk about is because I guess most people know Kanye's story coming up, the Rockefeller
Mm-hmm.
shit, being a producer and all that. To me, the very, very, very first thing I've thought about is that Donda line about the giant looks in the mirror and sees nothing. Because first time I heard it, I was like, yo, dog, we need a big fucking pause for that because not pause like gay, but pause like, what that mean?
For those whole meds fun it, bro.
Yeah. And then when she
Yeah.
explained it, that wasn't what I interpreted it. And I told you, my interpretation was a giant looks in the mirror and sees nothing. I thought it meant, yo, he, anybody who's great can never really
Mm.
see that they're that great. It's only when other people look upon you and say, yo, dog, you know, so you're a giant. You're like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. But I suppose in Kanye's case, being so brimming with confidence, he wouldn't necessarily be that type of person. It would have been more like what Donda said, which is, yo, you're a giant. Just make sure that your feet are planted firmly
Mm.
on ground because you'll automatically be in the air because you're a giant.
Yeah. I think I liked her interpretation. I took it for what it was.
Mm.
Well, I took her interpretation for what it was because let's face it, it's just like in that song where, well, like, not even in the song, in that movie where like, nobody knows what it means. It's provocative.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think it has one meaning. I think you can
Fair enough.
interpret it in various ways because, well, I just like her interpretation where it's more like, bro, you can't see yourself because you don't even know the extent of your
Your greatness.
dimensions and your greatness.
Mm.
So just be careful of others around you and that you might step on them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then what I liked about it is that just like us the viewers were like, yo, that's such a dope thing for his mom to say. You could see it coming back in the final episode
Mm.
where they played the Gulliver's Travels um cartoon stuff
Oh,
to,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to mimic the giant
That
in
was
the
so
environment where
smart.
everybody was smart, and I'm like,
That
yo,
was so smart.
this is poetic, bro.
That was so
This is
smart.
genius.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. But yeah, dog. It's
Oh,
interesting.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Side
good.
note,
Mm.
especially the specific scene, because I was like, yo, I need to go watch back this animation
Mm.
because even the specific scene where he was actually trying to help the humans,
Mm.
you know what I mean, and they were firing arrows at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I know they chose that scene for to bring up a specific perspective of Kanye trying to help or trying to be that kind of person who is here for everybody and
Mm.
getting backlash. Which is why after that scene, I went on to talk about the whole abortion thing. You know what I mean? And how he
Yeah.
was saying, yo, it's It's sad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And people were laughing and thinking that Kanye is losing his mind. Mark, you still think he needs help, but I don't. I
Definitely.
agreed with his perspective. I'll be honest. I'll put it out there. I agreed with his perspective. I'm
But
not saying you shouldn't give women the choice
mm-hmm.
to abort babies. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it's sad that you could be aborting somebody great. You don't know that. You don't know.
A la Kanye West, which is
Mm-hmm.
what his dad was thinking to do. Like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should abort
Mm-hmm.
this kid. Yeah, I mean, you see, the thing is, when you understand the context in which he is coming from, you can almost understand anything that the man say. You
Yeah.
can't necessarily excuse it, but you can understand
Mm-hmm.
where he's
Can
coming from. Because it's
understand it.
like,
Mm-hmm.
because if he was going to be aborted, he wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't get the music rated, right? North, he was thinking to abort North. But we don't know. North might do amazing things. She may do, not so amazing things as her dad. But if she add value to people's life, then, I think it's a life worth living. I know 3 kids later, like it's a whole ass family. Well, it's still a family, even though the
Yeah,
divorce
even
is
though it's
finalized
still a
now.
family.
But
It's still
yeah,
a family.
yeah. Yeah, Doug. So I find him to be taken out of context a lot, even though sometimes it's like you can see like this is a guy who can't really express himself well. He needs the music to be able to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making excuses for him though, for the most part. But that's another thing too that I kind of want to touch on briefly because like he's kind of going off the rails now. The Easy video came out. He's killing Pete Davidson, Ray, all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And people are saying like, yo, he's disturbed, blah, blah, blah. But then you have another group of people saying, oh, you're making excuses for his behavior. And I'm like, yo, I don't think people understand how mental illness works. I really
Mm-hmm.
don't. It's almost like you're physically sick and then you throw up. Wait, why are you throwing up? You shouldn't be throwing up. You should just take some Pepto-Bismol and take a nap and you'll be okay. You're supposed to know better than that. I'm like, bro,
Or stop being sick.
exactly. How the hell can you do that? You can't do that shit. The fact of the matter is, people make it seem like Kanye can make the choice to not be a douche to Pete.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot. He literally can't. That's the. I don't know that. It's not about making an excuse for him, but there's a reason he's behaving this way. That's the
Mm-hmm.
reason.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this world that we're living in is more predicated on control than just empathy and understanding. Because
Yeah,
if they really were focusing on understanding what's going on, they would realize that this youth is just reacting to a very harsh stimuli for him.
exactly.
The
He's
man
just
lost
acting
his
out.
mother, and I know you're gonna be like, oh, but that's just that him should get over that now. Because I remember Charlemagne saying he should get over it now. Because there comes a point where you can't blame things on that. But I'm like, yo, bro, that's something that you can't just tell somebody to get over.
That's what I'm
Especially
saying,
if
dog.
this is like your life. Like this, she was your all. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
then now you find somebody who you married to. This was his first marriage.
I'm lose her now.
And him lose her now. Somebody who he had 3 kids with. We don't know his
4 kids.
life. 4 kids, sorry.
North, south, east, and west. Yeah.
Oh, 4 kids with, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we don't know their life. We don't know. But what I can tell you from a personal experience, what it takes to run a marriage, it still will be, or still would require him to be invested in it. You understand?
That's what I'm saying.
In some way, him have kids. You see him interact with him kids. You see how he. Come on, so many things happening in that man's mind. When him losing him wife now, and you see him acting out. I'm not saying he should stalk her, because I was listening to what D.H. Hewley was saying the other day. Well, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I don't know. But the point is, D.H. Hewley was saying, yo, if that was his daughter, he would be doing something about it. People laughing, but the man is crazy and we can't be laughing and excusing his actions. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But also, DH, I feel like we're coming from a point where we feel like we should be doing harm to Kanye. because for some reason I just feel like people are just angry with him.
Dude.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, him just need help. I'm not be
That's the point,
sympathetic
dog.
or
He's
like,
not on his
oh yeah,
meds.
poor Kanye. When I say poor Kanye, I'm saying, yo, dog, get that nigga some help.
Yeah, dog. Because that's the thing with people, you know, dog. When you need help and you're at a certain level of illness, you don't get the help. You don't. And I think people need to be a little bit more, again, this is not an excuse. No one is making excuses for his behavior. His conduct is fucked up.
Yeah,
but do you want an explanation as to why his conduct is fucked up? He has fucking bipolar. That's why he's acting this way. Why are you guys acting like, oh, why is he acting this way? Are you confused or something? You need to find the symptoms online about what the disorder is.
And I'm by no means taking his videos, his recent music video for a joke. I'm taking it serious.
Of course.
I think that you would need help, because if you sit down and pre-say this girl move on and you go put out a video, but
on the day,
kill the man. You see me?
On the day she's legally single.
Oh, you go kill the man who there with the girl. You need help, bro. Like, you need professional help.
I agree. No, I'll say this much in some defense of him. It could be that Pete Davidson like completely snaked the fuck out of the man and is doing some wild shit. Like, could be like, you know, kind of like betrayal in a sense, where it's like they were close and then him do this to his wife. Like, can you imagine Kid Cudi sleeping with Kim Kardashian? I can't imagine that.
I can't because I don't know. I don't know Kid Cudi, but I've like seen enough of him to know. I don't think that a guy like that would do that.
Right.
You know
so I don't know if Kanye and Pete had that kind of relationship or something close to that. So then it would kind of be like, oh, this is actual betrayal straight up. I don't know. But if it was something like that, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can kind of make more sense out of why he's acting this way. Still not really an excuse, to be honest. I mean, I've been betrayed. I never went and act a buck wild like that. But another thing, though, that I wanted to touch on was a very, 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 very interesting part of the start of episode 3, where the man is talking about Coodie's talking to him, right? This is not on film. This is just a conversation, and Coodie's relaying the information to us over voiceover. And he's basically saying, like, Kanye adopted an alter ego. You remember that part?
I think I do, where he was like, yo, was this when he stopped filming him for a while and came back and realized that, yo, this is not the Kanye he knew?
It's somewhere between that and College Dropout College Dropout wins 3 Grammys.
Right.
Then they have a conversation and he's saying that, yo, I'm adopting an alter ego so I can continue to feed the media monster.
Yeah, what threw me off was because you used the word alter ego. He was just saying, yo, you're going to have to stop filming because now I'm going to put on a performance for the media.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
He didn't say alter ego. Yeah, he didn't use those words.
Because he's like, yo, I have to be what the media wants me to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, man. I remember that part and I was like, yo, what if everything that we've been seeing is just the performance?
I don't think it is. I think it's part of that. But I think his actual trauma of losing his mother is still in it. It's not totally far-fetched. Sorry, it's not totally fabricated. Part of it is that, yeah, it's a show. But part of it is definitely trauma.
Part of it is him missing his mom. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Also, did you realize that there's like a whole ass era of this fucking third part of the documentary that's just missing? Because he spoke about college dropout, spoke about late registration, spoke about graduation, did not talk about Jesus, did not talk about Watch the Throne, did not talk about that Ye album that he did with Drake, didn't talk about that shit.
Didn't mention Amber Rose.
Didn't mention Amber Rose. Didn't mention the girl before Amber Rose, or the girl before Amber, or before that other girl. Didn't mention really Jay-Z. Jay-Z's not even in the fucking thing.
Which is why, if you listened to what he said in the interview, in the documentary when he was talking to his dad. That's when you really realize that there's a lot missing, because when he was talking to his dad, he's like, "Oh, yo, send that coodie, send my dad the 7 hour clips that you have of me in the documentary, because the documentary is way longer than that." This nigga just took out shit.
I would imagine.
He just took out shit.
But it's interesting because he didn't even like point out who his dad was.
Mhm.
Everybody gets like the little name at the bottom or the side or whatever. It was just they're just in the Dominican Republic. Here's some white dudes trying to buy real estate.
I guess I thought it was the black man that was coming down the stairs.
No, man. You know who he is, right? Because like that's where his dad lives. He lives in the Dominican Republic. But what's interesting is just the fact that everybody gets a name, but he did not get one. He's in the credits though. He's in the credits. And he's obviously referred to in the documentary, but the fact that his name wasn't there, it was almost, I like the fact that it wasn't, because it made it cryptic. Like, who's this random black guy? And they're in the Dominican Republic. So if you don't know who Ray West is, you wouldn't recognize him.
Right.
So I found that to be an interesting creative decision, but I liked it because it added to the mystery of Ray West. So yeah,
and there's so much like points to highlight in this whole documentary. I like that part where he was talking to the white men. I think that's the whole scene for me. I don't know if Coodie did it on purpose, but it was really just eerie because of where they were, the whole setting, them overlooking
the code switching too.
The code switching, everything, bro. I was like, this is so interesting. No, to the point where he was like, "Yo, I've never heard Kanye talk like this before, so I had to cut the camera off because I don't think I wanted to see him like this." You know what I mean?
Yep.
I was like, "Yo, it's just fascinating seeing how, because again, he was saying a lot and saying nothing and saying a lot at the same time. If you know what I mean."
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I was like, yo, intriguing, very intriguing. And then I was like, yo, I need a house overlooking the sea like that.
Look like a nice digs, man. Yeah,
man, it was really nice. Well, yeah, that scene really showed me again that, and again, for Coodie to be saying it too, is like, yep. This man grew up with Kanye and can show you that, yo, Kanye has been changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who is this guy talking to these white men like this? Like him, not in a sense, like him going through a bipolar episode at that very moment.
That's exactly it. Because when I think about the guy we met in episode 1, and then the change, I mean, he was still pretty much the same guy in episode 2. It was in episode 3 that you really see the change, dog. And even when we saw him in Jamaica at the concert, Wade, it's like even when you see him, it's like the man have a certain aura to him. Like, wow, that's Kanye West. Fuck, that's crazy. But the energy, different
energy, man. Yeah. And I remember I'm so glad they did the documentary this way, because this is how you know this is Coodie's documentary and not Kanye's documentary.
At least for the most part.
Yeah. For the most part, this is how you know. No, when I say it that way, I mean this is how you know Coodie had his hand in this documentary, because he helped. And let me put it this way: if you were supposed to do a documentary on yourself, Jason, you wouldn't capture the contrast of Jason the way people see Jason, like how Coodie captured it for Kanye. So if Kanye had done that documentary for himself, like, okay, video this, let me edit it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't see the contrast the way you saw it, the way how Coodie did it. Because, and you can tell that there are specific scenes that were just left in so that people could, if you're smart enough, you can form that contrast from episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I can see the breakdown of the transition into this weird Kanye. Because I remember I noted too, isn't it ironic that Kanye's cousin came out of the house? They didn't even have to put that scene in, that scene could have been left out, But when he went to his cousin's house, his cousin was coming out and he's like, oh guys, don't mind my cousin and his weird haircut. He's kind of quirky.
Fast forward.
And fast forward, what the hell is this in your hair? Red, pink, purple, cut here, go around, circle.
Remember there was even the haircut where you had like some avatar shit going on with the arrows.
Yeah, bro. And so it's like it's just to show you the contrast between that guy in the past and this guy now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Also, was that the cousin who stole the laptop? I don't even know.
That's a good question. I guess we'll never know. We could check the credits.
But yeah, bro. So it's just seeing him contrast a lot of what he seemed to stand for in the past, and then the seeing it look very different now.
Yeah. And I guess this is probably where I'll finish what I'm saying, but I think it's one of those things that kind of makes you question, like, is fame worth it? Is success worth it? Because, some man might not be able to handle that shit. Some man might even have like this kind of subconscious thought where it's like, look how much people become great and then they just become shell of themselves, even if the product is still good because they're still able to create, because that's just so embedded in who they are. The destruction of the personality and the destruction of the psyche and the destruction of your life, is it really worth it? I'm not saying that that's like a fact of life in a dog. I'm just saying life happens. And when it happens on a public stage like that with so much to lose and so much to gain, it kind of makes you think like, can you handle that?
Honestly, I would say I think it's worth it, bro. I'll always say achieving success to the highest heights of how you can go is necessary. You understand? I think it's a good thing. I think what's bad about the Kanye situation is when
you don't find too close to the sun,
right, and you don't find that balance.
Yeah, he's not.
You know
balanced.
what I mean?
I would agree.
If you find that balance, then you'll be good. Because there are so many other celebrities who are doing really well, and it's not as and I don't want to say problem. You know what? I'm going to use it anyway. Not as problematic as Kanye. You know what I mean? Things will come out because people are living their lives. We might make up a big hullabaloo and hubdub about Will Smith and Jada, but the reality is they're still a good couple.
Yeah, I've read some quotes from that book, and I'm like, shit, that's something that can apply to any man in any marriage. But
and the marriage is still going. You know what I mean? They seem to be happy together. That man is successful AF. You know what I mean? So success is necessary. I'll never tell a man never be successful because you're going lose whatever. I don't think you have to lose it. I'll always say strive for success, but make sure you do it with a balanced mind.
I would agree. It's not that you shouldn't strive for optimal in your life, but just know when enough is enough.
Yep.
That's a part of balance. And know that when you need the help, you better go get that shit quickly.
You better get that help. You know what I mean? Better get that help. And
or at least have people around you that's like, dog, I still say you need this and you're not gonna admit it, but me, I gotta tell you right now, you need help. Cut the fuckery. This is what you need to do. Let's try this. Let's talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Like intervention type shit. Yeah. But one last thing. When Kanye got the Rockefeller chain, dog, and he was wearing the Canada jumpsuit, dog, I'm like, if poetry wasn't a fucking moment in time, this is it. Unbelievable.
But that's how you know the man was problematic from day one, bro. Because the man never dressed like nobody else around him. The man won a Canada jersey and everybody else dressed in New York and Brooklyn as fuck.
Yeah.
And this youth is like, I'm gonna wear a Canada jersey.
And I'm from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago.
You know, you had a Jamaica one on too, you know. I think
Yeah,
in
man,
the
I saw
second
it, man. I
episode.
saw it, man. The second
Yeah.
episode, I saw it. I'm like, you know, man, I have to see that, bro. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, Jamaica, they're everywhere, bro.
True.
You know, I saw it. And I was like, yo, that's so dope. It's so dope that he was repping Jamaica.
True.